Happy 2026, everyone. And again, I wanted to come back and do an image from Kinderdijk and maybe try something a little different with the wetting of the paper. Although, as you can see, I've got the paper taped. So we're gonna work what I'm gonna call zone areas of wetness. So yeah, it's going to be like a dry January. But it's sobering to me that it was 50 years ago that I was here. So, hi, Charles. So I guess that would explain the bad condition of my photos, the old Instamatics. So, and this was harvested from the internet. And it's as close as I could get to an image that I had. So since we're working dry, I'm still also going to draw first. Boom, boom. So it's almost, I'm going to lightly pencil in, maybe a little above the third line here. And then top of that, about another third. It's over not quite half. And I will darken these lines up so you can see better. These little salt and pepper shaker shaped cupolas on top of these things. Compare angles. Just transfer across. About there, about here. Probably a little oversized. I'm not going to get too crazy with I'm going for the position. So then I'm going to find, that building was not there in 76. I'm leaving it out. The area we're looking at, what you can't see from this photo is there's the canal splits, and there's another channel going back there which this windmill is on. Now there's a pair of little sheds here. One of them is really not enough information there to understand what's going on, so I think I'm going to just simplify it into one, and I'm going to try and position it in such a way as it doesn't look like it's, I'll need some more foliage then, won't I? I don't want it to look like it's something that's underneath that. What I need is to indicate the recession in space there. Hi, Michael. So, and what I meant when I said I'm going to try to do zone areas of wetness, rather than wetting the entire sheet and having it be a one large state of the condition of the paper being one large or one pretty much similar situation. I wonder if I got enough room at the bottom here. I'm going to have to paint this reflection I'm going to, hi Kathy, thank you. I'm going to paint as if it was a wet on dry, like we've done so many times in the past. But I'm going to utilize certain areas being wetter than others so that I can do things that will cause the reflections to look reflection-y, if that's a word. I think I need to take my, So I'm drawing for position here, drawing for position. Not for stuff yet. Stuff gets painted. Where the stuff is, that's what we tend to first. Oh, there's a nice tree here, small shrub, and it's something I would like to put there, even if it weren't, because it has the effect of breaking up this hard junction point here. And these little, I guess this is where they pump the water in and out. So I'm just going to indicate the roof there. Everything else is darker and it'll get put in later. So I'm going to start darkening it up. Hi, James. The other thing I want to do, since the one we did last time is so much the same coloring, I believe, oh, hi, Karen. Hi, sis. Since it's the same coloration, or very similar, I want to just, maybe make it look like it's a little earlier or later in the day. But I still want to play around with these nice reflections. And I am going to paint the reflection after I do the upper portion of the picture. So there's another one of the things that I want to do is the paper will be dry, but when I paint the area, then the top is wet. And as it soaks in and gets to the right state, then I will apply more paint and try to get some soft edges that way so that I can exploit different degrees of wetness rather than be locked into just one. And it's a very important thing in watercolor to constantly be mindful of where you just painted so that you know whether it's still sloppy wet there or have I not been there for a while and it's quite dry now. You need to be aware of those things. It's a bit like being an air traffic controller. The way that I like the way this tree blocks this sort of hard, sharp area. And I think I'm going to try and do something like that back here too, so that the far windmill stays ahead of this little building here. All the stuff up there is going to get painted. I just need to know basically where it starts and stops. Okay, I think I'm just about there. So, what kind of weather do I want to make this? If I make it earlier or later in the day, hello, Jan. I think I probably will not have all these lovely cast shadows from the apparatus. Just getting an idea where some of these gizmos are. So I'm just wanting to make something a little different than what I've previously done. Now, mise en place. We got all our colors here. I'm going to make a decision. I want a kind of a warmer tones. Blues with some ochres in it. Number 14 mop, I think, and then I'll probably switch over to the number 14 synthetic pointy brush for detail, or maybe the Oriental, we'll see. So, go back to the whole picture. I'm going to want to mix up all the colors that I'm going to need when I do the initial washes. And I wonder if, yeah, there was some, like, I don't know, some sort of weed that grows on the surface of the water there. I don't know if it was quite like lily pads or anything like that. But since the whole thing here is darker, if you squint at it, than that, not that one, I do want to keep that one light. I have to be careful there. I can let a little bit of this stuff, whatever color I'm painting up here, get into that. I'm going to stop at the water line and I'm going to paint that on its own. And I may take the Australian approach. We're going to go down under, flip it over. So I want a yellow ochre, pale yellow ochre, runny mix, lots of water. Maybe a wee bit of burnt sienna in it, or red iron oxide. And no, maybe I shouldn't do that, because there's going to be that in there. So back to plan A. Nice yellow ochre. And that's yellow ochre, but I'll make it a little lighter. Then I want to transition to a blue. Decisions on the fly. I'm going to get some neutral tint. Now that's going to seem like an odd color. And I'm going to put a little bit of cobalt in it. And a little bit of the Holbein lavender. So I want a grayish violet. Grayish blue violet. I better make a fair bit of that. Again, both these mixes need to be runny. And I can tell I don't have anywhere near enough of the blue. So. Put a little water in there, get some more of this paint. And make more, John, make more. You'd be sorry if you don't. So we're going to change the time of day. Maybe a wee bit of cobalt too. rinse it good. Got to get all of that out before I hit the yellow ochre. And away we go. Make a bead. I'm going to leave the top of that going right through there. Let's get that too. And let's get that too. Now, just a little bit more. Now we're going to switch over to the lavender on an early morning look. And the reason I'm doing this upside down is so that I get a gradation that is lighter at the bottom and a little bit darker at the top. So keeping that bead going. Let's get a little, ooh, shoot, let's make it redder now. Take it all the way to the bottom. I'm using a 140-pound cold press Stonehenge. Rinse it good. I'm going to evacuate any excess down here. And then I'm going to flip it back over. Oh, I see a problem area. That tape there, you want to be careful if you get any water on the tape on the side, because sometimes it will sneak out into the image and create a sunshine. So there's a different look. Now, yeah, I think this will do. We're already getting a different color range than that. Okay. I'm looking at this. Is there any place that I want to, yeah, I think I might, with a rinsed out, squeezed out brush, while this surface is still got a little bit of, see, I can mop it, make it just a little bit lighter. I could even get fancy. Well, dare I? No, don't do it. It'll be easy enough to lift. I was going to take out some of these little white, where they furl up the canvas on the thing. Now, I'm going to put a wee bit of orange in that yellow ochre, because typically when you have reflections in water, it should be a little bit different above the water line than it is below the water line. And just look at the situation. If you're outside, you know, one will be darker, one will be lighter maybe, one will be duller, one will be more vivid. There's usually some change, and even if there isn't much, exaggerate it so that you make this and that look different. Maybe a hue change even. We've spoken of that before, a violet blue in one place, a greenish blue in another place. Okay, so I'm also going to make the purple-ish color, the grayish lavender, perhaps a little bluer, because it will be reflecting the zenith of the sky, which is further up than what we're looking at here. Rinse, rinse, rinse. All right, here we go. Look at that. I didn't rinse too good, did I? Let's get a little more of the orange. All right, now we're going to start with the, oh, there's a hair. When you get a hair like that, don't panic, leave it there, let it dry. And you blow it off when it dries. So, a little redder, a little darker. We'll finish that. And then we're going to dry this. Again, I'm rinsing, squeezing the brush out, and I am evacuating the excess so that it doesn't come back up. I'm also going to check the side here. Get that. Now, is there anything I want to do? I think maybe what I want, golly, probably shouldn't do, I'm not going to do it. One of the things I was thinking about doing is maybe there'd be a analog to that white roof. And I could just, it's still damp enough, I could mop up a little light spot. But don't think I'm going to do that. I think I will leave it orange, and I'm framing it with the reflection of the trees and bushes, and it will appear lighter if I paint around it. So now I'm going to mute and dry this. There, and as you can see, when I put that on there, it blew that little hair off. You just have to resist the temptation to dabble in there and fish them out, because you will inevitably get a light spot or a blossom or some less desirable thing. I think the next thing I'm going to address everything above the horizon first. Maybe a good thing to hit now would be the, let's see, well, just possibly I'm going to put some burnt sienna into that yellow ochre. So I'm getting a slower moving mix of paint now. I'm going to put a little neutral tint into that and basically make burnt umber. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to make another batch of that with a little more of the neutral tint so it's darker. Maybe a little bit of ultramarine. Whoa, well, yeah, let's a little more ultramarine, a little more. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's slower moving paint. Still kind of runny, but not as runny as before. So I'm going to start on the thatched cupola there. I'm going to make it a little bit more reddish. See if I can leave some strategic skips. Now, blot that brush, get a little more of the sienna. I'm going to touch into this, a thicker mix. I'm going to, okay, so that it's not just a flat tone of umber brown. Going to allow a little bit of a skip there. Then I'm going to get into the lighter mix that I had, and I'm going to come right underneath this, just kiss it. And when I do that, a little bit of it is going to bleed down. Maybe I'll even pull that out. This needs to come further over. Now I've got a wet edge here. So here comes this zone thing I've been trying to talk about. I'm going to put a little bit of blue. Whoops, wrong place. Blot the brush. I'm going to put a little bit of a cerulean. Maybe that's too much of it in here. And I'm going to come right up to the wet edge, not blending it physically. I'm coming up and catching it. Stay ahead of it. There's a, while I was painting this, I was thinking, I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. It was called Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates, about a kid racing on a, so I'm making it a little bit more bluish, brownish. And the dike would freeze over, and they would have skating races. And this guy, Hans Brinker, had the hots. It was like a Disney movie or something. He had the hots for some girl, I think her name was Katrina or something like that. And he had a arch rival who was like some wealthy guy or something. I don't know. But the prize was silver skates. So what's that got to do with anything? Okay, so the reason I'm doing this is now I'm going to mix up a green. I'm going to get some of that weird nickel azo yellow and a little bit of neutral tint and some turquoise. And I'm going to make a dull green. And I'm going to work right out of this on that wet edge into these trees. Now these will be the closer trees. I'm going to try to not hit the building or these little things. I'm going to put more turquoise into that to make a cooler, bluer green, and then try to get the appearance of some trees that are further back on this canal that goes behind this canal. So work a little bit of that into there. Back here too. But anyway, all right, what's the silver skates got to do with this? There's I think it's an Olympic sport even, it's called curling, where they, people on ice skates, they try to shove a warm, I don't know, it's some kind of device. They have to try and get it to slide as far as they can on the ice. And I guess the further it slides, the better. But a guy gets to skate along in front of it, and he sweeps the ice right in front of it. And that smooths the ice so that the thing travels farther. It looks like a ball or something. But anyway, that's what I'm doing here. This is a weird explanation, I know, I'm sorry. I'm going to put some bright yellow in this mix now to get a yellow. I am going up to this wet edge, and I'm just coming in front of it and getting it to pick up and move into the new color. So think of it as like watercolor curling. So now I'm doing turquoise and a brighter yellow. Now these are darker colors, right? So I can if I don't like them, I can lift them. So I'm coming right down to the water line, and here's the lily pads or the scummy stuff or whatever it is. So I was curling there, or trying to curl with watercolor. Again, let's make this thing, get a slow-moving burnt sienna with some naphtha red, and just because it'll sit nicely against the green. And the face of that building I'm going to make a little darker later. So again, I'm coming right to the edge, at best just kissing it. And now I'm going to come up with a dirty grayish ochre color, which is an easy color to mix because basically you just, whatever's on the brush, you kind of get a hold of it. Get the concrete or stone or whatever they're made of there. Yeah, all of this. And then later on we'll get the dark opening of that. And I want the green to sort of just merge or kiss it. You know, I mean, it could be like moldy stuff growing around it. Now this, the water has soaked in. So it's still moist below the surface. And I'm making a mix of ultramarine and neutral tint. And I'm going to try to get some of the dark business under here. Okay. Meanwhile, this hopefully is drying up. There's a little window here, a doorway here. Now see, it's still very wet there. So that tells me I should be careful. I make a browner version of that. I had to get back on, work on this now, being careful that I don't probably going to have to make that darker. Oh well. Easier to make something darker than to make it lighter, right? Okay, I can get into the face of this building and deepen it. Perhaps put a bit of an eave shadow under there, and I'll probably want to have a doorway. Let's, well, I want a browner red, So I got some of this brown here, some of that red there, runny mix. This looks like it's brick as opposed to stone. Again, just that'll be darker there. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Oh, now what I need to do is the shadows. I need thicker blue. Maybe even Prussian. Whoa, that is strong. Rinse. Blot. A little bit of yellow ochre with Prussian to make a very deep bluish green. Maybe even a little more neutral tint in it. For the shady bits under the foliage here. There's not going to be a lot in the way of cast shadows with this earlier or later lighting scheme. Put some red in it to make it more of an aubergine color. And I'm going to get underneath this causeway or whatever it is. Now that's still a little bit damp, so that's going to be a softer edge. Yeah, okay. Now, same stuff. Be careful not to put my hands in there. Well, I'd just be better off waiting, wouldn't I? Now, what I can do, I want to put a little bit of shadow, a darker, so that the thing doesn't look flat. I want it to look curved. I'm going to take a damp brush, rinse it, blot it, and I'm going to create a damp area here. And I'm going to put thicker pigment over there. And it'll swim in and give me a soft gradation, I hope. I need a bit more at the top. And possibly, well, there's going to be some apparatus over there, so straighten that up. This can get a little darker under here. And yes, that will have to be made darker, yellower, browner, but dull yellow-brown. Sometimes you have to think a little while, what would something that's that color look like in a more overcast situation? And as long as you do something plausible, you're usually okay. So, okay. That, of course, is going to have to get lighter. I mean, darker. But something cool. Maybe the lavender. And I've got a lot of little bits and pieces that maybe I'm going to leave them alone. I could turn them into something later. Now, I just painted there, so it's quite wet. Every time you paint somewhere, you're bringing moisture to the surface. So you have to be mindful of that. So if you're going to go back in quickly, then you have to think in terms of, I need to put thicker paint on that, because there's already a lot of water there. Thicker paint. Turquoise there. Maybe a little bit more of the dark bluish green over here. Okay. Now, this could get hairy. I've got to paint a reflection. So, I have to kind of come up with an analog for what I've painted, but it has to be a slightly different color. And slightly different. Did I just said that, right? It has to be a slightly different color, possibly a slightly different value. So, since we're getting into darker colors, they're going to be easy to lift to something lighter. So, maybe I should even draw this a little bit. Yep. Know where you're going. Don't overshoot your reflection. It's okay to undershoot them. And I'm going to run it off the bottom of the page a little more. And if something is slanting this way above the water line, it has to slant the other way below the water line. That one over there goes like that. Okay, so now this murky grayish just going to paint the shape. Pull it out here too. You'll see why I'm going to do this in a second. Now, a little more blues, blacks, and lavenders, or neutral tints and stuff like that. See that? I just painted there, so it's wetter. And I can put that in and it'll make a soft equivalent of that. I'm just doing that to keep it wet. Blotted that brush, a little more of the neutral tint, a little more of the blue. Oh, actually no, maybe more of the sienna, burnt sienna. I need to come up with a wobbly shape. a wobbly looking cupola. That's wet, and when I go back, it's getting wetter, and it's getting wetter. So I have to be careful. Now, while it's wet, I can throw a little extra color in here. I'm using thicker color because it's wet, burnt sienna. Don't fuss with that. Play with that later. Now I need to get the foliage, which means I need a thick, ugly green. And a good combo for that is Prussian blue, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna, varying degrees of it. Trying to, boy, I hope this is still wet enough. Here we go. So even though that wasn't the color I wanted in there, I threw some of this in to keep that area wet. And if it's not wet enough, well, let's get some red, dirty red underneath this. See, I come right to it, I just kiss it, and it hopefully will look like a analog of that. Let's put a little turquoise in that green. And I don't want it to be straight across. I want it to be a bit of a diagonal. So I'm going to make these trees supposedly a little taller than those. Now I'm going to wait a second, and with maybe some very, very pale turquoisey water, I'm going to come right up underneath this. And let a little bit of what's above swim into what's below. So again, I'm sort of leading it, I hope. Now this area has gotten a little bit drier, so back to that slow-moving dark. Oh, it's very wet there. Oh, it's too dry. Oh, what are you doing? It's too dry. Well, you rinse, squeeze, and lighten. Okay, a little wetter. Down here it's wetter, up there it's drier. So, mindful of where did I just paint. You always have to know that. Goodness, there's a lot of these, whatever they are. And, oh, thank you, Jan. Well, I didn't want it to be the same, color as the other one I did because I'd like to maybe show them as a pair or something. Oops. Using my pinky as a maul stick, I'm going to flood a little more of the darker color into that wet area. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jackie. What else can we put in here? Oh, I've got more of this business apparatus or whatever it is. You know, I think it'd be safer if I dried it so that I don't smear this with my hand. And then if I need to make it wet again, I can do that. So here comes the mute. Okay, now one thing I didn't do is I probably could have gotten away with not having that little safety fence there or whatever, but I think I want to have it. So now that this is all dry, I feel a little bit more confident when I'm putting in these warm darks here or whatever. Linear elements like this, I try to not, if possible, make them all the same along their length and along their, and if there's more than one, I try to make them not the same value all along their length or try to modify something so that they're not too linear or relentlessly linear. So there's all kinds of business down in here, and it is in front. That tree, that goes behind it. I'm going to draw in the, well, no. I think the way I'm going to do the grid is, hi Martha. Yeah, I glommed on how to do that. I'm going to, rather than paint that grid, I'm going to do a sort of a starved brush. Suggestion. And then I might later add the end one or something. Ooh, nope. Let's see, there's another ring there. That. Let's make that dark. Okay, now a little bit of yellow and right in the front here for that, whatever it is that grows at water's edge. A lot of times putting a zippy color like that or a warm color like burnt sienna at your water's edge will tend to make it look like a shoreline. I don't know. Oops, look at that. All this is going in there. That's okay. I can lift that. For example, I've got a short, stiff brush somewhere here. It's like a bright, and using clean water, I can pull a little water ripple lines, that kind of thing. There's some light stuff here. Now that light, whatever it is there, make it look like the water's flowing. There's something light here that I'm going to reshape. And then I'm going to make its analog down here. So what I'm doing is rinsing this brush, getting it damp, and then lifting. Now if you do those little lines, make sure that you space them wider as you go forward, just like you would a railroad track thing. I'm going to clean up that edge. I'm not going to paint the fence. I'm going to make it look, try to make it look like it's some sort of concrete gizmo. I think that'll be a little more solid. Let's see. Yeah, there's a little light area up in here. It's like a little window box or something. And right, yeah, even up here there's a if you need to get a really straight line, let's make a fence over here. I want to just loosen that up and kill some of those little things there. A lighter area right here at the water line. And then I think if I keep fiddling with it, I'll probably be sorry. I can always fiddle more later. But what I'll do, that one, I think I'll need to lighten up. Do something with that. Yeah, I could even do things like that. So I'm going to de-tape. Hi, Carlene. And maybe go get a nice glass of something and look it over. But the thing I was trying to get over today was the idea that, we can work the wet on dry, or we can moisten the paper and then work thicker paint into a wetter surface, and they both have their effects. What I was trying to do today is kind of do a little bit of both, so that, and also reinforce the idea that you have to be so mindful of where you have just painted, because it's going to be wetter there. So if you're going to go back into it to get an effect, then it will be necessary to use thicker paint. So now that I've done this, I can see it. And let's see, what can I... I can see a thing here. I think maybe I want to darken right there and there. Perhaps here too. And perhaps there. And Kinderdijk. It was just the most magical place. I really enjoyed it. 50 years ago. Good Lord. That hurts. Hi, Susie. Oh, gosh. It's just unbelievable that could have been that long ago. But it is. Anyway, 2026. It's well, I guess I'm going to need some light stuff here, aren't I? Wobbly analog for that. And then when the whole thing is perfectly dry, I'm going to use pencil to get maybe a little bit of the grid, but not on all of them. On the one that are closest to me in space. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. You ever get a chance to go to this place, do go. Because it's magical. I mean, you feel like you're going back in time. You really will. So, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to try and dream up a fun project for next week, and see y'all later. Thank you, Vicky. Oh, thanks, Michael. Bye-bye. Peace out.